Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so if you're a tech enthusiast, a developer, or a sysadmin, you already know all about Linux, right? It's everywhere. But today, we're zooming in on the hidden giant of operating systems, a foundational piece of tech that literally powers a huge chunk of our modern digital landscape, right alongside Linux. We're talking about BSD, or the Berkeley Software Distribution. You've probably seen the name pop up in forums, or maybe spotted it deep in a job description. Well, today, we're going to unpack exactly what the whole shebang is, how its design philosophy fundamentally differs from Linux, and why it's secretly running on devices all around you right this second. Which brings us to a massive, kind of mind-boggling tech mystery. If BSD introduced game-changing stuff, like the TCP/IP networking stack that literally powers the entire internet today, why isn't it the default name we all think of when we talk about open-source operating systems? To really understand this, we have to jump into a fascinating chronological tale of two siblings. Both of these systems were born from the exact same Unix roots, but a dramatic turn of events altered the course of computing history forever. So let's rewind the clock back to 1969. Bell Labs, which was owned by AT&T, built Unix. It was absolutely revolutionary, but there was a catch. It wasn't free. It was AT&T's proprietary product. Fast forward to 1977, and some brilliant researchers over at UC Berkeley took that Unix source code, beefed it up, and released BSD. By the 1980s, the idea spread like wildfire. It was everywhere. But then, disaster struck. In 1992, AT&T sued BSD, claiming it contained stolen proprietary Unix code. This messy, massive lawsuit absolutely terrified companies. Developers were practically sweating, asking themselves, wait, if I build on BSD, am I going to get sued? That fear completely froze BSD development for nearly 2 years. And right in the middle of that legal limbo, in 1991, a student named Linus Torvalds released Linux. It was fresh, totally free from lawsuits, and completely open. You see, in the tech world, timing is absolutely everything. By the time the legal clouds finally cleared and the lawsuit was settled in 1994, it was just too late. Linux had already gained this unstoppable, enormous momentum. The open source community had totally rallied around Linus's kernel, and massive corporations were already throwing their weight behind it. Basically, the window of opportunity for BSD to completely dominate the general-purpose operating system market had slammed shut. Now, that messy history leads us to a massive technical divergence. Because they grew up in completely different environments, they were built completely differently. Which brings us to our technical deep dive. Is the integrated BSD approach actually better than the Linux ecosystem model? When we talk about how these two systems function under the hood, we aren't just talking about different branding. No, we're talking about completely opposite philosophies on how to build an operating system from the ground up. Let's break that down. On the Linux side, the thing you use every day isn't actually just Linux. Linux is strictly the kernel, the core piece, talking directly to the hardware. To make a functioning system, you combine that Linux kernel with GNU tools and package the whole thing into a distribution, like Ubuntu or Fedora. It's very much a mix-and-match ecosystem. But over on the BSD side, completely different story. BSD is a complete, tightly integrated operating system. The kernel, the libraries, and the core utilities are all developed together by a single team as one cohesive unit. That tight integration gives BSD this incredible consistency and rock-solid reliability. And beyond the architecture, there's a fundamental, philosophical divide in how the code is actually shared. Linux uses the GPL license, which is a share-alike model. Basically, if you use Linux code in a product and modify it, you are legally required to share your changes openly. BSD, on the other hand, uses a highly permissive license. You can take BSD code, embed it into a wildly profitable commercial product, and guess what? You never have to share your changes with anyone. And as you'll see in a minute, this permissive license fundamentally shaped the multi-billion-dollar commercial tech industry we know today. So after the dust from the AT&T lawsuit settled, the BSD project didn't just go back to being one big happy family. It splintered. Instead of trying to be a one-size-fits-all solution like a lot of Linux distros, BSD split into 3 separate paths. Think of them as 3 distinct cousins. They share the same Unix family roots, sure, but they developed wildly different personalities. Each project decided to focus on achieving absolute specialized excellence in one specific area of computing. Let's meet the cousins. First up is FreeBSD, the performance and stability champion. If you need a massive software collection and a blazing fast, production-ready server, this is your go-to. Next is OpenBSD, the absolute security fanatic. Their motto is secure by default. Every single line of code is obsessively audited. Fun fact, they actually created OpenSSH, the secure tool you probably use every single day. And finally, NetBSD, the portability king.
Its motto is literally, "Of course it runs NetBSD." This thing will run on anything, from modern x86 servers down to ancient Amiga computers and, incredibly, even components on NASA spacecraft. No way, right? So, having these three highly specialized variants available really begs the question, why do major infrastructure providers choose BSD over a Linux distribution? Think about it. If Linux has the massive community, the deep corporate pockets, and all the momentum, what exactly makes a tech giant quietly opt to run BSD deep in their server racks or inside the devices they sell to us? Well, the answer might genuinely shock you.
Welcome to BSD's hidden empire. Did you know that every time you open a MacBook or pull out your iPhone, you're using BSD? It's true. Apple combined FreeBSD's user tools with their Mach microkernel to create Darwin, which is the core of macOS and iOS. And because of BSD's permissive license we talked about earlier, Apple didn't have to open source their highly profitable software. Sony did the exact same thing. The PlayStation 3, 4, and 5, they all run a customized version of FreeBSD. It's literally everywhere, just operating quietly behind the scenes. Let's put some numbers to this. 2 million concurrent connections per single server. Let that sink in. That was the reality at WhatsApp, right before they got acquired by Facebook. WhatsApp was handling over 1 billion users with an incredibly lean team of engineers. And their secret weapon? FreeBSD servers combined with Erlang to build a massively scalable messaging infrastructure. That kind of mind-blowing efficiency on a single machine is exactly why top-tier tech companies trust it implicitly. And speaking of top tier, let's talk about Netflix. When you're binge watching your favorite show and you get that sweet zero buffering experience, you can actually thank FreeBSD. Netflix deliberately chose FreeBSD to power its OpenConnect appliances. Those are the massive servers physically sitting inside internet service providers all over the world. They didn't choose Linux. They went out of their way to choose FreeBSD specifically because of its incredibly mature, absolutely blazing fast networking performance and superior TCP/IP stack. So the real takeaway here is that it's no longer really about Linux versus BSD in some massive cage match. They aren't really competing anymore. They're serving different, highly specialized niches. Linux absolutely dominates the general-purpose landscape. We're talking desktops, Android devices, cloud servers, and containers, backed by massive giants like Google, Canonical, and Red Hat. But BSD rules the unseen backbone: high-performance networking, hyper-secure environments, and specialized embedded systems. Honestly, they've both made each other better over the decades by continually pushing the boundaries of what an operating system can actually do. Okay, so with all that said, why should you, as a focused learner, care about learning BSD today? I mean, yes, the community is definitely smaller, and sure, the learning curve is steeper than Linux, but diving into BSD offers some incredible rewards. First off, the FreeBSD handbook is widely considered one of the absolute best pieces of technical documentation ever written. Plus, you get to experience unmatched system stability. Seriously, some sysadmins run these servers for years without a single reboot. But the biggest reason? Studying BSD gives you a much, much deeper understanding of those shared Unix foundations. Honestly, learning BSD will actually make you a 10 times better Linux user. All right, let's wrap this explainer up. We've seen how BSD was born at Berkeley, revolutionized networking, got totally derailed by a massive legal snare, just long enough for Linux to take the spotlight, and then splintered off to quietly power massive platforms like Apple, Netflix, Sony, and WhatsApp. They're two children of Unix that just took different paths to achieve extraordinary things. So I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. As technology continues to rapidly evolve into artificial intelligence and beyond, what critical piece of our global hidden infrastructure will BSD quietly power next? Keep exploring, and thanks for joining me on this explainer.